So for the LA Rams, they had an interesting season in 2021. They go 7-1. Matthew Stafford has probably the first best first half start to his career, establishing that connection to Cooper Kupp straight away. And then you get to the midpoint of the season. I think you lose Robert Woods to a torn ACL. Their wide receiver too. And then they go and grab Odell Beckham Jr., but he doesn't instantly get himself ingrained into the offense right away. And they go into a middling and rough stretch in the back half of the season. But then they put it together in the playoffs. They win the NFC West. They destroy the Arizona Cardinals. They dethrone the 2020 Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Bucks. And, of course, they come back to beat the 49ers. Well, technically, the 49ers beat themselves. But anyway, the Rams, in hindsight, reached the Super Bowl for the first time since 1999. No, sorry, 1998, 1999. I'm getting my facts wrong. But either way, when Kurt Warner got there, damn it. And against the Cincinnati Bengals, it was pretty much a struggle for both teams. But when it came to nut busting time, the Rams got MVP performances for both Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp in clutch time to secure their second title in franchise history. And yes, Stan Kroenke, their owner, now is a Super Bowl and Stanley Cup champion. And Cooper Kupp is also a Super Bowl MVP. So anyway, for the Rams, their ultimate goal for 2022 is, well, of course, to eat, sleep, conquer, and repeat as Super Bowl champions. But in order for them to do that, well, there are a couple things that they had to do in the offseason. They had to find an offensive line. They needed help because their left tackle, Andrew Whitworth, finally retired after years and years of playing in the league. And they also had to find a corner opposite Jalen Ramsey because, as we'll get into it later on, they had a couple of losses in the offseason, especially two notable ones. So when we get to the offseason moves, they re-signed to contract extensions Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Aaron Donald. So pretty much essentially their big three key players. And then you get to the additions. They added Allen Robinson, despite not having that much money. How the hell did the Rams get that much money? And then they added in the division, after he got released, Seahawks linebacker Bobby Wagner. Holy hell. Holy hell. You would expect Bobby Wagner to go somewhere else. But no, he stays in the division. He goes from the Northwest to the bright lights of Los Angeles. Okay. All right. And then when you check out their losses, who left the bright lights of LA, the first one is within their coaching staff. Offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell was gone. He left to take the head coaching job of the Minnesota Vikings. Some players went to the Carolina Panthers for whatever reason. Punter Johnny Hecker was let go. And also guard Austin Corbett went to the Panthers. The two big losses, though, in the defense were Darius Williams. He went to the Jaguars. And then their midseason trade, that wasn't Odell Beckham Jr. Their midseason trade acquisition, Von Miller, went to the Buffalo Bills for a massive contract. So, two key pieces on defense lost. And then in the draft, they didn't really do that much. They didn't really have any notable picks. But they did trade wide receiver Robert Woods, who was recovering from a torn ACL, to the Tennessee Titans for a 6th-round pick. Yes, that is literally his worth. So for the LA Rams, it was pretty much kind of like a retooling process for them, retooling offseason for them. How are they going to get better? I mean, sure, they lost some people, but they also didn't really need to do much to add some people. They did have to address the offensive line. They did have to address the secondary, but other than that, not really much to do because most of the pieces were there. They had some depth, so I guess not much to do for them. So for the Rams, they look poised to run it back, especially in a much weaker in much weaker NFC. I mean, the NFC South sucks aside from, well, the Bucks. The NFC North sucks aside from the Green Bay Packers. And then the NFC East is total garbage, as always. And then in your own division, it's pretty much a two-team race between themselves and the 49ers, who pretty much are, they're a 50-50 mix, in my honest opinion, because you don't know what you're going to expect from Trey Lance in his first full season as a starter. And my other takeaway for this offseason is, well, all the extensions, all the offseason surgery, but everyone is expected ready to go. So the Rams, they're dead set. They're dead set on repeating, and they have a really good chance to do so in a very weak NFC. Now, can they get past a good AFC team in the Super Bowl? That remains to be seen. Some of the key games in 2022, obviously, a big test on opening night for them against the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. And that's going to be a really interesting game for them. How are they going to be able to contain Allen in that offense? And, well, they welcome back an old friend in Von Miller. He's just on the Buffalo Bills now. Oh, boy. And then, of course, you get that Monday night game in Santa Clara against the San Francisco 49ers and Trey Lance. So you get to see your first look at the new young kid. And then a couple of critical games against potential Super Bowl opponents. Kansas City, Week 12, and then a potential NFC Championship opponent in Green Bay in Week 15. So some very critical games for the defending Super Bowl champions coming very soon to an NFL season near you. So for the Rams, some questions I have is, well, how much of a chance do they have to repeat? Well, like I said, pretty big. But my bigger question is the offensive line. How are they going to fare? Because behind Andrew Whitworth last season, it wasn't really that great. They didn't have that great of a protection behind Whitworth, and you have question marks now that Austin Corbett is gone too, and they didn't really do too much to address it in the draft. So it remains to be seen how well they protect Matthew Stafford in this coming season. As for Allen Robinson, can he be that at least solid, good wide receiver to help out Cooper Kupp when he's being double teamed by other defenders? We will see. Allen Robinson's a solid receiver. It just remains to be seen. Can he help out Cooper Kupp in critical situations? Also, who's going to be the starting running back? Because you have Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers. Who, out of those two, who's going to be the back? Who's going to be the back to lead this offense? Both of them, honestly, can't be relied upon too much because neither of them can stay that healthy. So some things that they have to address going into training camp. But for the Rams, they have a really good chance to repeat this coming season. And yes, that is coming from a 49ers fan. Yes, this sucks to hear that because they have a talented core. They have a talented quarterback when he's not padding up stats. They have a really, really good receiver. They still have one of the best defensive linemen in defensive tackles in the NFL in Aaron Donald. They have a really good lockdown corner in Jalen Ramsey. So put all those pieces together and have the supporting cast help you out in a very weak AFC this year. They can go be the top seed in the NFC. They can go 10 wins at worst, 12, maybe even 13 if we're stretching it a bit. 12 wins in the NFC. But man, it's going to be interesting to see where these LA Rams and how motivated and how willing they are to repeat as Super Bowl champions in 2022. It'll be interesting.